Alrighty y'all, this is World Class Jerk, and today we're going to be discussing the greatest way to get power in the early game in Astroneer. But before we do that, we're going to have to discuss exactly what our options are here, because in order to figure out the best, we have to know what isn't the best. And so, we're going to start over here to the left, the most basic form of power in Astroneer pretty much, and that is the small generator. So let's talk about its pros and cons. What the pros are, it is on as long as you power it, and that's basically it for the pros, and the cons are that you have to power it with a resource, organic, which runs out whenever you run out, and then you have to get more. Then we have the solar panels, which I'll just do together. Those, obviously, are only on during the day, which is about half the time, and the other times they are completely useless. And then there's the wind vanes, which they're only on when they are, and that's kind of random. And so, there's a lot of downsides to all of these, and you may wonder what the best is. But the best isn't any of these. It is the medium generator. Now, if you've had any time in Astroneer, you may be wondering, World Class Jerk, why are you considering the medium generator as an early game item? It costs a lot of bytes and a lot of resources. So how on earth am I supposed to get this thing in the early game? Well, my children, that's because you don't have to craft it at all. What you can do is head into a cave and look on these platforms. There will be a lot of broken medium generators, but eventually you'll find a working medium generator, and it is very, very easy to get one. They are not rare, they are everywhere in the caves, straight underneath the first layer of cave. These will be absolutely everywhere. It is not hard to get them at all. So now that we've established what the medium generator is and how you can get it very easily in the early game, let's elaborate on that. Let's talk about it, what it can do, and how you power everything basically. So let's just get started with that. So first of all, the basics, the most important thing you need to know is that it takes carbon to power it. Now that might sound a little scary if you've never seen carbon laying around, but the thing is, carbon is literally just organic, which if you didn't know, you can get it from plants straight on the surface, not hard at all. Organic's very cheap. You take organic and you smelt it, and that's it. It's just organic. That's why the medium generator is very powerful, because it just takes organic and it puts out 9 units of power, whereas the small generator only puts out 2. And that's where this thing's really good. It puts out a crap ton of power. 9 units is a lot in the early game to have at any time as long as you're powering. That's insane, because with the wind turbine, of course, as we discussed earlier, and the solar panel, it depends on the conditions of the environment. But with this thing, if you have what you need, it will work, and that's why it's so good, because you can have power whenever you want, and 9 units is a lot. But now, it would be appropriate to discuss how effective this power is. We have carbon here, but how long will it last? Well, the answer to that is roughly 2 minutes, which is a pretty long time, because as this illustration here will show you, if you have a medium resource canister full of carbon and a medium generator, and you put it on the platform with the carbon dispensing and you turn it on, it will last over an hour, putting out 9 units of power the whole time. And that's a long time to be getting 9 units of power, especially in the early game. Now to that you may argue, well, 32 carbon's a lot, but really it isn't. Or maybe it isn't. Because if you're getting the organic from plants around your base, you're quickly going to run out if you're getting 32 at a time, and then using your power for an entire hour straight. That will indeed run you out of organic in the vicinity very, very quickly. So how do you get organic? What is the best way to power your medium generator with carbon? Well, allow me to introduce you to the soil centrifuge. This thing will give you 8 organic for 2 soil canisters full of soil, and if you're somehow not familiar with how soil works in this game, 2 soil canisters full of soil is not a lot of soil. I forgot to hook this up for the demonstration here. But yes, 2 soil canisters full of soil is not a lot, and that will give you 8 organic, which means overall you will need 8 soil canisters full of soil to get an hour of power inside the medium generator. That rhymed. That was awkward. But anyways, it will give you 32 organic just for 8 soil canisters, and so you will basically smelt it, get carbon, and that's a lot of power for the amount of time you gave it. Now, I know you probably won't have access to a medium resource canister full, but it doesn't have to be a medium resource canister. All it has to be is 30 carbon. That's really what this is about. I just decided to put it in that because it looks real nice. And so, since we're discussing massed smelting, I figured it'd be nice to show you a little pro tip here. You can trade out the entire this thing, and that's the fastest way to get something from the soil centrifuge to the smelter or to anything else like the crafter or that thing over there. So, there's a little pro tip with World Class Jerk. But yes, just keep doing that, keep switching that over, and then easy power. I mean, it really is that powerful. There's not a whole lot to say. I just want to uncover the greatest way to use the greatest power source in the early game, because getting power in the early game can be one of the greatest struggles, and if you completely solve that, you will get way faster development in the game, and you don't need more than 9 units of power in the early game. The biggest point here is that, because what I normally do is I go straight from the medium generator to the RTG. Those are the only power sources I use in this entire game. I use the medium generator, one single medium generator for each base, until I get RTGs, and then that's when I start getting a lot of power, because that's completely possible. I mean, if you look, the beginning game things do not use a lot of power. This uses 2, this uses 1, this uses 5, and so you could use pretty much all of these, well, not all of them at once, but you're never going to be using all these at once in the early game, probably, and so it'll power pretty much anything you need, and even if you go over 9 units of power, it will still power it at a decent rate, just not a max rate. Anyways, guys, that's basically it. I know this was a very, very simple video because it was about the early game, but the early game is arguably the most important stage of the game. The faster you develop in the early game, the faster you're no longer early game, and so the only way to get late game is by early gaming, and so you want to early game as well as you can, obviously, because of that reason, but basically that's all I have to say, and so, goodbye.